Hi, I'm Fox Evans, and this is episode. Wait, what episode is it? Episode 5 of Oh My God, I Really Love Books. In this web series, I've been attempting to speed run through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere so that I can be ready next year to do unboxing videos of the cool stuff that we're going to be getting for backing Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter. I've been at home with COVID for the last week or so it's actually pretty surprising to me that I haven't made a new video. I've been taking things easy, trying to enjoy this forced time off of work, but now it's time to get back to it. The book I just finished reading is called The Alloy of Law, and it's the first book in the Wax and Wayne series. This series takes place on the same planet as the original Mistborn series, however, it's 300 years in the future after the end of the Hero of Ages. The Alloy of Law follows the story of a lawman named Waxilium from a place called the Roughs, which is a wild, lawless land filled with chaos. Waxilium is forced to move back home to the city of Elendel after family tragedy hits, and he believes that this move is going to have him hang up his guns and become more civilized. However, he could not be more wrong. I would honestly rate this book a 4 out of 5 Brandons because the time shift for this story is done fantastically. It feels a lot more Western than the other Brandon Sanderson books that I've read have, and the main character, Wax, just feels way more relatable than any other characters that I've seen before in Brandon Sanderson's books. The next 2 books that I'll be reading through are The Shadows of Self and The Bands of Mourning. Like most of the series inside of Brandon's Cosmere, you can go ahead and start reading at the beginning of this trilogy without any prior knowledge of the Cosmere, and you'll be able to follow along with the story that's going on. However, I would suggest go ahead and reading the first Mistborn trilogy before you read the Wax and Wayne series, because there are spoilers inside of the Wax and Wayne series for the original Mistborn trilogy. And speaking of spoilers, if you don't want any spoilers for the Alloy of Law, I would go ahead and stop watching the video now because I'm getting ready to jump into a quick synopsis of what all happens inside of these books. If you enjoy these videos, please go ahead and like and subscribe so you don't miss any further updates on my speedrun of the Cosmere. And also, please go ahead and check out all the cool things that FoxxDenn Productions is doing. Everything will be linked down below in the description. So the Alloy of Law is really short compared to other books that are written by Brandon Sanderson. We start off in the prologue, and it gets rough really, really quickly. We are immediately introduced to Wax and Lessie, 2 lawkeepers out in the Roughs, and they are hunting down a murderer who has been kidnapping and killing people. While hunting this murderer down, Wax stumbles upon the murderer's art gallery, where all of the people that he has kidnapped have been mummified and posed in gruesome ways, and the murderer calls it art. This scene is really well done and really disturbing. Brandon doesn't usually write in horror from what I'm used to, but this is what I could say the closest stab at it that he's done so far, and it's just executed really, really well, and it's very disturbing. Wax makes it out of the art gallery and finds the murderer, and the murderer is taunting him. And by the time that Wax is able to find the murderer, he realizes that the murderer has actually gotten Lessie and taken her hostage. In this scene, we really find out just how much Wax and Lessie have been through, because it would appear that this is not the first time that one of them has been taken hostage and the other one has had to kill the hostage taker. So Wax takes a really deep breath, he finds his shot, and he waits for a signal from Lessie to take the shot. And whenever he does, the murderer really quickly moves Lessie's head in the way of the bullet, making Wax kill his own partner. And that's it. That's the end of the prologue. We get introduced to a really awesome, badass character, and she immediately has her head blown off by Wax, who is not only her partner-in-law, but also her lover. After that prologue, I had to set the book down, had to walk away. That was really rough for me. I really felt for Wax whenever he ended up killing his own partner. This was a really big slap-in-the-face way to start this book, and I'm kind of mad at Brandon for it. But we come back into chapter 1, and it's been about 6 months since the prologue, and Wax is now going by his proper name, Waxilium, and he's living in the city of Elendel. He had to come to the city of Elendel to take over for his family after the death of his uncle, and he's having quite a hard time fitting in, finding that it's harder for him to adjust from his life in the Roughs than he thought. He was going from only being responsible for himself and being able to make, whatever decisions that he wants to, to now he is responsible for thousands of people that his family employs. He clearly still wants to be a lawman, but the constables don't want him meddling in their business. So he's really struggling with all of these responsibilities, and his family is actually kind of destitute at this point because his uncle left the house in a very shitty state of affairs. So all of these responsibilities and this lack of money all culminates into him actually needing to make a political marriage, which is how we are introduced to the characters Steris and Marasi. Steris is the woman who Wax intends to marry. She's a very cold and calculated woman who's actually drawn up a contract for the relationship between her and Wax, since she doesn't really see a need for there to be romance and sees this as a marriage of convenience and power and monetary gain. Marasi is introduced as Steris' cousin, though she's actually Steris' illegitimate sister. The initial meeting between Steris and Wax is honestly a little rocky, but they decide to go ahead and move forward with the engagement and plan on announcing their dating status to the rest of society at an important wedding that's coming up in the future. This is also whenever we meet Wayne, who is Wax's old partner and is also a twin-born who is able to create speed bubbles around himself where he makes time move faster inside of this bubble and is also able to heal himself through ferrochemy. While Wax has been living this life of a high society member, there's been a lot of theft and kidnappings that have been happening throughout the city. There's been a group of criminals who have been targeting trains, making entire cargo loads disappear from the train, and then occasionally kidnapping what seems like random people. These criminals have done such a good job at these crimes that they have earned themselves the name the Vanishers, which I think is a really stupid name, but that's neither here nor there. These Vanishers happen to decide to target the wedding that Wax and Steris are going to be attending together, which all in all is just a bad move on their part. Whenever they try to rob the people who are going to this wedding, Wax and Wayne team up and end up killing almost all of the 30-plus attackers who are attacking the wedding, but not before the kidnappers are able to take away Steris, who is going to be Wax's betrothed. Steris' kidnapping is what ultimately brings Wax out of retirement because Steris' father charges Wax with going out and finding Steris to make sure that she's okay. The rest of the book follows Wax, Wayne, and Marasi as they attempt to save Steris and take down the Vanishers. Wax figures out that the leader of the Vanishers is a man named Miles, who is an old friend of his and also a fellow lawman. Miles is also twin-born and is able to heal himself ridiculously fast. Like, you can shoot this guy in the face, and his face will grow back right in front of your eyes. They manage to catch Miles by tricking him to step into a speed bubble, which is an allomantic power that creates a pocket of space that causes time to move differently inside of the bubble than it does outside of the bubble. So while time is moving by a lot more quickly outside of the bubble, constables storm into the area that they are in and are able to overpower Miles and subdue him. This speed bubble is actually created by Marasi, who has an allomantic power a lot like Wayne's, but does not have any ferrochemical powers. Throughout the whole book, you can tell that Wax and Marasi are super into each other, even though Wax is twice Marasi's age. Whenever they do end up saving Steris, you can see that there's some hesitation in Wax whenever he is agreeing to move forward with the engagement to Steris, and that's because of his feelings for Marasi. However, he does go ahead and move forward with the wedding, or with the engagement, because he needs this wedding to happen for political reasons. And also, he actually gets permission from the constables of the city to continue practicing law while he's here. There's also a subplot that's going on throughout the book that's suggesting that the women who have been kidnapped by the Vanishers are actually going to be used to be bred for allomantic reasons to create more allomancers, I'm assuming. However, they don't really go too deep into this plot, and I'm assuming that's because it's going to be taking place in the next couple of books. At the end of the book, they also revealed to you that Wax's uncle never died. He actually faked his death, and he was bankrolling the Vanishers and was allowing them to do all of these things, supposedly in the name of tax fraud. And whenever Wax confronts him about the women that he has kidnapped, his uncle doesn't actually say or give any indication as to what he's doing with those women. Obviously, I didn't get a chance to cover everything that happens in this book, and if you're interested in a more detailed chapter-by-chapter breakdown of the book, let me know down in the comments, and keep an eye on the channel for whenever I start doing that to Brandon's books in the future. This is a really great book. It's a page-turner, and it's honestly pretty short, so if you haven't read Brandon's books before because you've been afraid of the length, this is a really great place to start. I will remind you, however, that there are spoilers for the original Mistborn trilogy inside of the Wax and Wayne series, so be ready for that if you do plan on reading the Mistborn series after the Wax and Wayne series. Wax is just such a really good character. He's super rough around the edges and a lot more relatable than the other characters that I've seen Brandon write, and if I love him this much, I think that you're going to love him too. So I'm getting ready to jump into the next book, and I should have another video out soon. Don't forget to check out everything that FoxxDenn Productions is doing. It's all linked down below in the description. And, just be ready for next time. And until then, I've got a lot of reading to do.